Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a revolution. And this one isn't happening in the streets, it's happening in boardrooms, on factory floors, and all across our global supply chains. We're talking about the huge shift towards sustainability and how businesses are totally rethinking their relationship with the planet.
All right, so let's get right to the big question, the one that frames this whole conversation. Can a company really save the planet and its bottom line at the same time? For the longest time, everyone thought you had to choose one or the other. But what if that's just not true anymore? What if going green is actually one of the smartest business moves a company can make right now?
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll dig into why businesses are even going green in the first place. Then, we'll open up the toolbox and look at the smarter, cleaner methods they're using. After that, we'll check out the real engine behind this change, eco-innovation. And finally, we'll look at the blueprint for how all these ideas get put into practice.
All right, so first things first, we have to understand the motivation behind all this. Why are some of the world's biggest companies all in on sustainability? Let me tell you, it goes way beyond just good PR. This is about core business strategy. This whole shift is really built on a concept called corporate environmental management. Now, the best way to think about it is like this. It's about moving from playing defense to playing offense. So instead of just reacting to rules or doing damage control after a problem, this is a strategic game plan to manage a company's entire environmental and social footprint and actually turn that responsibility into a real competitive advantage. But okay, a framework is just a plan, right? How do you actually do it? The answer comes down to one single powerful force: innovation. Innovation is the engine that makes all of this work. It's what creates the breakthroughs in how we produce things, how we use energy, and the materials we use that actually make sustainability possible. And the strategic benefits, they are absolutely profound. When you increase efficiency, your costs go down. That's a direct win. A better public image isn't just about looking good. It helps you attract the best talent and build amazing customer loyalty. And this kicks off a fantastic cycle. Sustainable practices add real value to your products, which then opens up brand new markets in the green economy, which is growing like crazy. So the why is pretty clear, but what does this actually look like in the real world? On the factory floor? Let's open up the toolbox and explore the practical methods companies are using to build a smarter, cleaner future. At the heart of this is a fundamental change in thinking. The old way was reactive, what they call end-of-pipe solutions. Basically, companies would make a bunch of waste and then spend a bunch of money to clean it up. The new approach, called cleaner production, is proactive. It's about redesigning the entire process from the very start to prevent waste from ever being created in the first place. And this proactive mindset leads us right to a core principle called eco-efficiency. This is the idea that good business and healthy planet can and should go hand in hand. The goal is super simple: create more value with less impact. Think about a company that redesigns its packaging to use 50% less plastic. They're still delivering the same great product, but now they're slashing material costs and reducing waste. That right there is eco-efficiency in action. To make this even more concrete, a researcher named Jose Carlos Barbieri laid out 8 key principles for a solid eco-efficiency strategy. And what's cool is how they cover the entire life of a product. It starts with reducing what goes in. Less raw material, less energy. Then it tackles what comes out. Less pollution, more recycling. But it also thinks bigger, focusing on using sustainable resources and, this is a big one, making products last longer. All of this comes together to improve the final product, without ever forgetting the bottom line: making a profit for shareholders. It's a truly complete blueprint. This whole philosophy can actually be boiled down into that famous 4R framework, but let's look at it from a business perspective.
First up, rethink. For a company, this means reevaluating entire business models.
Then, reduce. This is all about driving efficiency through the whole supply chain and manufacturing process. Next, reuse. This is what sparks new markets for things like refurbished goods and products that are built to last. And finally, recycle. This is the engine of the circular economy, turning what used to be trash into a valuable resource. Put them all together, and you've got a practical guide for any company. Okay, so we've got the methods, but to really, truly accelerate this transition, we need something more. We need an engine powerful enough to drive revolutionary change. That engine is eco-innovation. See, eco-innovation goes way beyond just making small, gradual improvements. We're talking about revolutionary change.
It's about inventing entirely new technologies, new processes, and new products that aren't just a little bit better for the environment. They are radically different, designed from the ground up with sustainability in mind.
And what's so critical is that eco-innovation is the glue that holds the three pillars of sustainable development together. It drives economic growth by creating new green industries, it supports social development with healthier communities and new jobs, and of course, it directly protects the environment. It's the force that makes sure these pillars stand strong together instead of competing against each other. But let's be real. This kind of radical change is never easy. The barriers are huge, and they're often all connected. For instance, if you have an internal company culture that resists change, that problem gets even worse when there aren't any external public policies to encourage that change. And the need for new tech is a massive hurdle if the high costs and an uncertain market make that investment feel way too risky. So how did the pioneering companies get past these barriers? Well, they follow a clear, disciplined blueprint for putting innovation into practice and turning those big, abstract goals into real, concrete action. The whole process is a logical progression. It has to start with an honest diagnosis of where the company is right now. Only after that can you move to strategic planning, creating a real long-term roadmap, not just a few one-off projects. But a plan is totally useless without engagement. You have to build a creative culture where every single employee feels like they're part of the solution. And of course, that culture has to be backed by real investment in R&D to fuel the whole thing. And ultimately, that blueprint shows us that this isn't just a technical problem. As Barbieri points out, the biggest challenge is often human. You can have the best strategy in the world, but success really comes down to building a new culture where people are empowered to think and act differently.
And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. Sustainable innovation can't just be a short-term fix or a clever marketing slogan. For it to truly work, it has to be woven into the very DNA of a company's long-term strategy. It has to be a fundamental change to the way business itself is done.
So we've seen the why, the how, the engine, and the blueprint. We have the tools and we have the understanding to build a more sustainable and prosperous future. The only question left is the one facing all of us. What will we choose to build? Thanks for watching.